Hey everybody, welcome back to the booth. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, that is Zach Hill, and we are going to be covering some draft.
I can't tell you how excited, Marshall, I am to see Kenji draft. It's been a long time.
Well, we haven't even told him yet.
Yeah, did I just spoil it?
No, it's good.
Did I just spoil
We're going
it?
to tell him right now.
Oh, all right. Well,
we get to see Return to Ravnica draft for starters, which is fantastic. Because, you and I, we've been doing a little bit of drafting, but it's great to see it here at the highest level. And we're also, speaking of the highest level, we're also going to get to see Kenji Tsumura, brand new Hall of Famer, just today inducted. And we're going to be watching him with all of his picks. So we're going to get to walk through every single pick that he makes. And we're going to get to commentate that, so it's going to be
Can't wait, man.
All right, so why don't we head down to where the feature match area is. They've got a table set up, and we are going to be seeing Kenji Tsumura draft Return to Ravnica right now. All right, so let's take a look at where, I think overall, for the most part, you want to be in a guild.
Yeah.
I know this sounds obvious, but I think a lot of people go off guild, and I think it's best to try to stay within the confines of one guild, generally speaking. So we see he's taking a look at some of his cards here. Blister Coil, where there's a Rakdos Rage Mutt. That's a 3/3 lifelink with haste.
See Blood Crypt and a Golgari Guildgate in case you're interested in fixing your mana. Not a lot of really premier spells in
No,
this
there's
pack.
really not. It looks like he's taking a look at the Rage Mutt. He's also got Rootborn Defenses pulled to the front. There's really this pack is overall quite weak.
Yeah, this is not a very good pack.
Yeah, he's got Inaction Injunction pulled up, and he almost took it, and he does. He's going to
First
take
pick
an
Inaction Injunction.
Injunction. Now, this is I wouldn't call it a high impact card, but it's also low impact on your deck.
Right. Well, I mean, it's very low cost to playing it. It does a lot of work. It's sort of a way better version of Stun, which was a card. Wow, see Sphinx's Revelation now.
That's a spicy one. Now, Sphinx's Revelation, one of the cards I really like, and I haven't got a chance to play it in Limited yet, although I had it in a deck, I just never drew it.
Sure.
But yeah, that card is sweet.
We also see a Fairy Imposter, a 1-mana 2/1 flyer. You have to bounce a creature, but oftentimes in the Azorius deck, that's upside because you get to pick a card with Detain back up and use it again.
Yeah, now this pack is really, really heavy with things for the Azorius deck. It looks like he's going to take the Sphinx's Revelation, but there's a Vassal Soul that he's passing, Fairy Imposter, I saw a Dispel in there, there's an Armory Guard, there's an Azorius Guildgate. Like, he's going to get something back for his deck from this pack.
Exactly.
I like the pick with Sphinx's Revelation. Can you talk about that card for a minute? It's a blowout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just card advantage is so powerful and limited, and Sphinx's Revelation kind of mitigates the tempo loss from having to tap out to draw a lot of cards by gaining you the life back. So basically exactly what you want in almost any blue-white deck.
All right, so he takes a Sunspire Griffin here. He also was looking at Inspiration and at a Rune Wing. But I like this pick. I think that's the most solid card. It's a 2/3 flying for 3. He just took a Sphinx's Revelation, so he probably doesn't want to, take an Inspiration this high.
Right. I mean, and I think Rune Wing is pretty solid in a deck like this, too. Just trade and gain some more advantage. But a lot of the Azorius decks kind of want to be on the more aggressive end.
Okay.
And you'd much rather use Sphinx's Revelation to refill your hand after you deployed a lot of threats than to be using it to kind of catch up after you're behind. So I like taking the early solid threat there.
Yep. All right, so he brings a Phantom General, a Keening Apparition, and a Syncopate to the front here. What do you like out of those three?
I kind of like the Syncopate, to be honest. I also really like Doorkeeper.
You like Doorkeeper?
You just play it early and then tempo them. But Keening Apparition, rock solid. It can trade early and it can get in some early damage, and that looks like what he goes with.
Yeah, that's the card I think I would have taken there too. It's a curve. It's a curve consideration card, getting a solid 2-drop, and frankly, there's a lot of auras that people play to block, Stab Wound and stuff that can just get you, and having an out in your main deck is pretty nice.
All right, so now we see another Vassal Soul if he wants it, another Fairy Imposter if he wants it. Looks like he's pretty set on the Vassal Soul. A lot of 3-mana 2-power flyers.
Yeah, there's a ton of them at common in this set. So I'm not surprised to see that he's got this many. Now, one of the cards that he did take a look at was Avenging Arrow. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a totally fine card, but it's not a card I'm really excited about. Like having to get hit with something and keep up that much mana, it's hard to use it offensively, even though that's theoretically possible. So I'd much rather have just a solid, consistent threat like the Vassal Soul.
Okay. All right, so we have another Keening Apparition, another Inaction Injunction. There is an Izzet Staticaster.
Oh, and that's got to be a pretty loud signal to you. On the other hand, you have cards that cost 1 white, and a lot of white blue right now.
Yeah.
So
And you know, I was really hyped up on Staticaster. He takes Keening Apparition here when I first saw it.
Yeah.
But after seeing it in play, I think it's solid. Like, it's a card I want in my deck, but I'm not jumping into another color set for it.
Not being able to hit the opponent with that card makes it a little bit worse than a lot of other quote-unquote Tims we've seen before.
Yep. Now, he's got a Doorkeeper and an Armory Guard. What do you like here?
I kind of like the Armory Guard, to be honest with you. I mean,
he's a guy.
You know, you've picked up two drops that can attack now, so the Doorkeeper to me is a little less exciting than it would be. I mean, I guess that's what he's going to take.
Cheaper.
Yeah, well, right. You can always use 2 drops.
I mean, his plan, you know, is pretty clear early here, which is put down a couple of things that can block well on the ground and attack in the air.
Oh, yeah, and turn 2 Doorkeeper into turn 3 2-power Flyer is certainly a curve that you do not mind.
Right, this pack is pretty spicy. There's an Azorius Guildgate and Inspiration, but there's also a Conjured Currency. Now, he's going to take the Guildgate and just kind of play it safe. Conjured Currency is a super interesting card. In the right board state, it can be devastating. And in the wrong, it can be a card that you just don't even want to resolve.
Yeah, it's a really weird card. Does a lot of things. It lets you exchange control of it for a threat of the opponent's, but your opponent can do it back.
Right.
We see Downsize taken there. Great in a race situation. Great also in the trade.
Yeah, there was just nothing else. You saw Search Warrant there, but Search Warrant's not a good card.
No, not excited about a Search Warrant at all.
All right, Fairy Imposter and the Azorius Guildgate plus the Dispel all came back. These are ones from the pack that we saw before. I definitely think Dispel's better than Fall of the Gavel. I don't think I'm going out on a big limb with that
I'd
one.
agree.
But it looks like he took the Fairy Imposter.
Yeah, Fairy Imposter actually is a card that I'm pretty excited to have. You've got to be thrilled to table that card.
I'm pretty stoked on it, too. You know, one of the cards that it works really well with, rare drafts, why not? It's a mythic. He is Azorius Arrestor. You know, he's probably going to pick up a couple of those at some point. And getting to rebuy and reuse an Arrestor can mean the game when you have like 6 power in the air and just need that one extra.
For sure. And like it's really good with your Doorkeepers too. He's now going to get 3 Doorkeepers if he wants them. Or he can kind of go in 2 directions. I mean, he might just stall the ground early.
The aggro mill deck?
Yeah, the aggro mill deck. Well, you know, I mean, he's got 2 drops that can attack like we see here. But, I mean, having 3 Doorkeepers certainly means that, like, if he wants to just go the Air Force route, he can. Also pretty good with his Fairy Imposter. You know, he can just cast it like a Windrake on the 3rd turn. You know, just play it for 1 mana, pick Doorkeeper up, play Doorkeeper again. Yep. So you've got to be pretty happy with your deck if you're Kenji at this point. I think you could use a little bit more removal.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so these are kind of this is the type of deck that I've been playing the most of, and I've had the most success with so far. Yeah, he also picked up a Cancel Last.
Yeah, not bad.
Sheldon caught that one, and yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, not that Cancel's amazing, but last pick is
well, it's
pretty happy.
It's a signal that blue is open if nothing else. You see him keep the Doorkeeper sort of toward the back of his pile, not really looking to play him, instead looking to be a lot more tempo-oriented blue-white deck, but he's still got a fair amount of playables right now, so his deck looking in pretty good shape as we enter into pack 2.
He's got a lot of playables.
Yeah, and a lot of different directions he can go.
All right, I see, a Void Wielder. That's one of my favorite cards in the set. Oh, Martial
Law.
That's my card.
Unbelievable. It's named after you, right?
It is named
Marshall?
after me, yeah. At least I claim that. It might not actually be true.
Also just one of the most powerful cards in the set for this type of deck. I mean, we were talking about how he needs removal. Martial Law just nukes the best
But this pack is
every
sick
turn.
for him. Look at that. Void Wielder, Azorius just this year, and an Azorius Charm. If he can get either of those back, it'd be huge for him.
At the very least, very likely to table that inaction injunction that we saw him first pick, first pack. So he's definitely going to get something good back out of this pack.
Void Wielder being the ideal, but the chances of that coming back, I'd say, are very low. I think people have caught on to the fact
I was
going to
say, that when the set first came out, I think you could probably table a Void Wielder.
Yeah.
Really underappreciated card, but I think
very
the memo is out on that guy.
I think so, too. And in a deck like his, it's insane.
Exactly. That's
right, so he's taking a look. There's a Hussar Patrol, a Swift Justice, if he wants a trick, and I don't think he's looking at much else.
Swift Justice, pretty underrated combat trick, but I think Hussar Patrol is actually great in this type of deck. You know,
I do too.
You can believably pass the turn with available mana. He stalls up the ground. You can get card advantage with it if you ambush your opponent, and that looks like what he takes.
I think that's a pretty easy pick there.
I agree.
Hussar Patrol has been nothing but solid for me since I've been playing.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent card. And, like, if he wants to play the Cancel, which he's probably not excited about, but is certainly an option, Cancel and Patrol go extraordinarily well together.
Yep.
So.
All right. Taking a look at his next pick here. Now, these are called drafts, so they have to wait until they're told to be able to pick up their card. Crosstown Courier, pretty unexciting.
Oh, yeah, he can win by damage and decking at the same time. Exactly what you want to do.
Here's an interesting choice, Zach. He's got a decision between Frostburn Weird or Stealer of Secrets. What do you like? I know what I like.
I like Frostburn Weird as a card better, but I like Stealer of Secrets in this deck a little more.
Do you?
You know, I mean, you're gonna table a the card Inaction Injunction, very likely. You know, you have a lot of other detain cards, but Frostburn Weird's a better card.
I'm on the Frostburn Weird. I think I would have just taken that one as well. And the reason for that is, again, it does what your deck wants to do.
Sure.
It puts 4 power on the ground on turn 2, and it can also just beat down. All right, there's the Arrestor we mentioned, along with an Azorius Charm. I don't think he's going to take a Keening Apparition over the Arrestor. Now, there's also a Dramatic Rescue, which is a card that this deck likes quite a bit, too.
No, for sure. I mean, the Arrestor really good with the Fairy Imposter he already has.
Yeah.
Azorius Charm, really excellent card. But I think that, you know, you want the 2-drop, you want the tempo play. Arrestor is exactly what you want to be doing in this deck.
All right. And it looks like he agreed with you, and he did take the Arrestor there.
Now, it is sort of awkward to have that with the Frostburn Weird, with a card that costs 1 white in a 3-slot. The mana might be a little sketchy. He's got a Guildgate to help out, and there's only 2 colors, so it's probably in the scope of things not all that bad, but
he very slowly squeezed out that last card there. I think he's just going to cut an Annihilating Fire here. I don't think he's going to plan on playing it. But Street Sweeper seems to be the only card that he could really play in his deck. I guess another cancel, but I think he just doesn't. Yeah, he's just going to cut the Annihilating Fire here.
For sure.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It kills the stuff that he's going to use to kill his opponent.
Right, and if you pick up a couple more of those, you know, your Frostburn Weird goes into blue-red. A lot of your best cards are blues, so like there's a non-zero chance you could switch into Izzet. Probably not likely.
Yeah, I'd call it unlikely.
All right, there's a Is It Guildgate again if he wants to think about that.
Here's another choice. So what do you want to do? Detain on turn 2 or on turn 6? You know, I initially underrated the Skywatch, but it's come around for me, and I think I like it here.
Yeah, and that's what he takes. I actually think Hesperia Skywatch is one of the premier blue commons. It's very expensive, but it has a huge impact on the board.
Yeah.
And usually one of the downsides of 6-mana cards is you tap out and just get killed on your opponent's counterattack.
Right.
But Skywatch can make sure that that doesn't happen. You know, you stop their biggest threat. So I think Skywatch really good here.
I like it too. Now there's an Inspiration and an Aku's Steed. I've found the Aku's Steed very underwhelming.
Yeah, not
basically
an
unplayable.
Card.
I think I just take the Inspiration. Let's see if he agrees.
Is he going to take the Steed?
It looks like it.
All right, the horsey.
Go for the Steed. Giddy up. We'll see if it makes his main deck. My guess is it won't, but it might.
I mean, the ability is very good if you have a bunch of flyers. It's pretty hard for your opponent to win combats when you have the Steed in play. Eric Lauer, actually, the set's lead developer, loved the Steed.
Did he?
Yeah, you know, maybe Kenji's in good company. Who knows?
All right, so there's a bunch of cards that aren't for Kenji here. And, you know, he's thinking about just cutting a Giant Growth. Interesting that he brought Pursuit of Flight to the front as a potential cut as well, showing the respect he has for that card, and gained a lot of respect for it myself.
No, a card can end games quickly, but Giant Growth, actually, I think even better in this format than it is in many others.
And ta-da, he does wield the Inaction Injunction here, so you predicted it, he got it back, and now he's in business. I mean, his deck is very linear. I don't, like, just off the top of my head, I'd say he's getting close to 23 playables already. As we go into the third pack, he's going to have a lot of flexibility on, you know, picking a card that fits into his curve better, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. And I think his mana curve is the biggest issue right now. He kind of just wants bears and Windrags.
Yep.
What did he pick there? I couldn't quite make it out.
I think he took the Conjure Currency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to run it, but maybe.
I mean, you know, you can certainly get one of your blocker out of the way an opponent's mid-range threat. I actually kind of like it in this kind of deck. Cause
I do too. And all his guys are the same.
Well, yeah, and a lot of their power is in their ETB ability, you know, the ETB detain effect. So once you've done that, you don't care if you give your opponent a 2-1 or a 2-2. Now,
he's got 2 Keening Apparition.
Oh, that's true. So
you can ship it and then kill it. I mean, you're losing a card, but...
I mean, you're also, you know, mind controlling one of your opponent's creatures. So, yeah, that's actually a really good point, Marshall.
I remember the days of mind control. I know what that one does. So.
Right. I don't mind bending over backwards a little bit in order to get a mind control.
Absolutely.
You know, it's still probably worth it. I think you probably play Conjured Currency in this deck. But look, Kenji.
We get a look at Kenji. He's clearly concentrating hard here. He's going to have a little bit of time to review his picks. And I really like how this deck is going. Again, I've been kind of on the Azorius train personally, so when I see a deck like this, I get pretty happy. But I've had a lot of people tell me that they haven't had that level of success with it, with Azorius.
You see him move the Aqua Steed to the back. He's got a Crosstown Courier if he really needs another 2-drop, which I can actually see being pretty good in this deck to go with your Keening Apparitions. A lot of ways this deck can go. Kenji's not going to be short on playables, I don't think. A lot of different things he can do.
This is a great... I mean, he's got really high power level as well. He's got the Martial Law, which is going to be really effective for his deck, along with the Sphinx's Revelation. If the game goes long, it gives you that out, when you've got 8 mana out.
We see him move up the downsize. He's currently not putting Conjured Currency in his playables pile. That might just be too cute. I might be getting too clever for myself. But, a lot of ways he can go as we head into the 3rd pack. And, you can't be upset with both the Sphinx's Revelation and a Martial Law. Raw power in the deck as well.
Especially when, you start off by taking Inaction Injunction of all things.
Yeah, can't be happy about having to do that so early, but really rewarding him. I mean, it's possible he took that just as he likes, being in this guild and likes the style of play.
All right, let's see what he opens up here. Nothing for him so far. There's an Arrestor. He immediately moves that to the front. And it looks like... Where's his rare?
Yeah, I didn't see a rare in this pack. I'm sure there's one there.
That wasn't it. Cremate. Where is the rare?
Yeah, I bet he looks at the Arrestor, and Arrestor incredible in this deck. That's exactly what he's going to take. So that's a pair of Arrestors. Oh, and a Mana Bloom is the XG enchantment?
That's correct. Yeah, that was the rare. So obviously not for his deck. He's happy to pick up a second Arrestor here. Like you mentioned before, works well with Fairy Imposter. It just does what his deck's trying to do anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And right. I mean, you can play it on the 2nd turn if you need a threat. You can play it on the 8th turn to get a blocker out, and you can play it, whenever you need to use it to play some defense.
There's a Swift Justice. Soulstorm Spirit. Now that guy goes well in the deck too. Again, another detain effect coming a little bit later in the game, and then it's an evasive 2-power guy, which he has plenty of, but I think you can always use it.
I'm never going to argue with evasive 2-power guys in a blue-white tempo deck. I actually really like this card. The 4th turn I found is like when you really need to detain something, it both pushes through your 2-drop that you cast on the 2nd turn and prevents you from getting counterattacked. And then so once you've saved that tempo, you've got a 2/1 unblockable creature on the board ready to push through even more damage. So I found that it really hits that sweet spot, kind of does everything you want to do, and is a card that you're really excited to play in a deck like this.
There's another Azorius Arrestor, although there's also Hussar Patrol #2 and Azorius Elocutor, so this could get interesting here.
The Elocutor is the filibuster counters?
Yeah, you bet, buddy. Course. So it's a 3/5 for 3 Azorius, which is actually a substantial body. Like, having a 3/5 on the board feels really good against most of these decks I've found. That said, it's a little cute, and it looks like he's just going to go with, well, he's thinking. Yeah, all right, so Hussar Patrol really over the Azorius Arrestor.
I think so. I don't know if I would have picked that. I think Arrestor, again, is just exactly what you want. But, I mean, Kenji is no slouch, and certainly a 2/4 flash that you can use to gain some advantage, use to shore up the ground, and have a little bit more of a high end. Certainly a card that you're never upset to have to be playing.
Yep. Next pack has a Concordia Pegasus, which is a card I don't like at all. I just feel like it doesn't slot in well in the format. Like, it doesn't block the things you want to block, and it doesn't really attack that well for only 1. I think I would have taken Syncopate there.
Sure.
I kind of like having, because a lot of times what happens with this type of deck is you do get out the 3 2/2s, and then you're sitting back, and you're just like, if I can hit him 2 more turns, he's dead, and you just want to be able to prevent whatever they're
doing. You just Syncopate their 5-drop or whatever.
Exactly.
On the other end, the 1/3 flyer goes well with a lot of the Windrakes. It goes well with the detain cards. I mean, it just allows you to keep up. It's not a huge amount of pressure, but it's some pressure, and it plays a non-embarrassing game of defense. We see him looking again at a Skywatch to add to his Air Force now, so I mean, I think he's just going to, pretty straightforward deck, cast some flyers, prevent your opponent from attacking and win in the air.
These packs haven't had a whole lot of sweet stuff. Like, for him, they have. Like, he's gotten some really nice stuff, but I don't know that these packs have been, like, super amazing either, although, We are seeing them after their pass, so there's all the good stuff taken. Another Skywatch, jeez.
If he wants it, yeah. I mean, I think, it's 3 6-drops, which is not always ideal, but when they're as powerful as Asperia Skywatch and fit into your deck's theme so much, I think you just take the third one and say, all right, well, I'm on a plan now.
I like it too. Interestingly, an Asperia's Skywatch enables the next Asperia's Skywatch.
Yeah.
Like if you resolve one and you have the other, sometimes you have 2 6s stuck in your hand, you get one down and then you're dead.
Right.
And that's just not going to happen here.
Right. That's exactly like a Morbid Hunger, a card back in Odyssey block that sort of enables itself, even though it's expensive. You're right. I think chaining Skywatches actually is a totally reasonable line of play, even though it's in the comparatively late game.
All right, so he sees a Fencing Ace here, and he's going to take it. Now, he took it over Reborn Defenses. I don't think Fencing Ace is going to make the cut for him. My reasoning for that is I haven't seen any way for him to make Fencing Ace bigger.
That's true. On the other hand,
okay.
It's still like a Grizzly Bear with some upside, some downside, and I think he really does. Like, I think it's better than the 2-1 that he has, the Crosstown Courier.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
And I think he wants just more 2-power, 2-mana things. I mean, it's 1 power, but it's double strike. So I think he's probably going to play it.
Okay.
We'll end up seeing. I mean, his deck's power level is extremely high, so it's possible he just doesn't care.
Yeah, I tend to view that card as a Celestia card. I want to giant growth that thing.
No, that's for sure.
100.
You see him looking at Dispel, Rakdos Charm, and Downsize. He's already got a Downsize, so I think giving yourself the option to play Dispel if you need it is probably the correct call here.
Dispel's a card that's impressed me. In the sets that it's been in before, I haven't really been happy to play it, but I've been running 1 pretty consistently in these type of decks and felt pretty good about it.
We see him hate draft a Goblin Electromancer there. Again, he can't play it, but he doesn't want to give it to his opponents.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I think that if you are in the Izzet deck, you can often open a pack. See, does he take the Guild Gate? No, he takes the Creeper.
Looks like he takes the Gatekeeper Vine. I'd probably have gone with the Guild Gate there. Both picks are in essence just hating mana fixing.
Yep, that's fair.
All right.
Deviant Glee hits the black hole. I mean, I think it's not getting play.
Right.
Yeah. And he's just got a couple of cards left, and he's going to pass the search warrant. And that's going to do it for the draft portion here. He's got one more pick, but
yes,
yeah, it's an unplayable. So, what do you think about his deck overall? I mean, to me, it looks pretty good.
Looks really good to me. There's it's got a reasonable mana curve, a little bit of a hole in the 5 slot, but that doesn't really matter too much. It's got high quality cards all the way up the curve, and then of course some bombs and Martial Law, Sphinx's Revelation. He's going to be able, Revelation gives him inevitability over the long game. The longer the game goes, the more he can just accumulate a huge advantage by casting a big Sphinx's Revelation.
It's instant.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get people so good because a lot of times these aggressive decks they have to they push through a bunch of damage early, and then sometimes they'll just build out their board and just make a big attack to try to just kill you in one shot, even if it's like, I'm going to lose these 3 guys, but I'm getting in that last 6. Or if they're trying to set up for like an explosive impact, where they're like, okay, just got to get him to 5, get him to 5, and then they go impact you, and you're like response, and all of a sudden their whole entire plan
the game's
is
over
nullified.
at that point.
And that's, I mean,